The Bridge Keeper's Secret, read by Chuck Brown. In a peaceful countryside where rolling green hills met crystal-clear streams, there stood the most remarkable bridge anyone had ever seen. It wasn't made of stone or wood or metal like ordinary bridges. Instead, it appeared to be woven from morning mist and starlight, with railings that sparkled like captured dewdrops, and a surface that felt solid under your feet but looked as if you could see right through it to the water below. This magical bridge was tended by a young girl named River, who had the most unusual job in the entire kingdom. She was the Bridge Keeper, which meant she was responsible for helping the bridge decide who could cross and who needed to wait for a better time. River was 9 years old, with long dark hair that seemed to flow like water when she moved, and eyes the color of deep forest pools that reflected everything around them. River lived in a small cottage built right into one end of the bridge, with windows that looked out over the stream on one side and the meadows on the other. Her cottage was cozy and warm, filled with comfortable furniture and shelves lined with books about bridge keeping, water magic, and the ancient art of helping people find their way across difficult passages in life. The bridge was no ordinary crossing. It was a wishing bridge, which meant that it could only be crossed by people who truly needed to get to the other side for important reasons. The bridge itself was alive and intelligent, and it could sense whether someone was crossing for good reasons or selfish ones, whether they would use their journey to help others or only themselves. River's job was to talk to people who wanted to cross the bridge, help them understand what they were really looking for, and guide them in making choices that would be good for everyone. Sometimes people thought they wanted to cross for one reason, but the bridge could sense that they actually needed something completely different. River wasn't alone in her work. She shared the bridge with a wise old turtle named Current, who had been the bridge keeper before her and now served as her advisor and friend. Current was ancient and moved very slowly, but his mind was sharp, and he understood the mysteries of the bridge better than anyone else in the world. Every morning, River would wake up before dawn and walk to the center of the bridge to greet the sunrise. As the first rays of light touched the magical structure, it would shimmer and sing a soft, welcoming song that could be heard throughout the valley. This was the bridge's way of announcing that it was ready to help people with their journeys for another day. On this particular morning, as autumn painted the leaves in shades of red and gold, River noticed something unusual as she performed her morning ritual. The bridge felt different under her feet, not quite as solid as usual, and the shimmer in its structure seemed dimmer than normal. "Current," she called out to the old turtle, who was sunning himself on a patch of warm stone near the cottage, "something's wrong with the bridge. Can you feel it?" Current opened one ancient eye and slowly turned his head toward the bridge's center. After a long moment of careful observation, he spoke in his deep, gravelly voice. "Yes, child, the bridge is troubled. Its magic is weakening, and I think I know why." "What is it?" asked River, concerned. The bridge was not just her responsibility. It was essential for the entire region. People came from miles away to cross the wishing bridge when they needed help making important life decisions or finding their true path. "The bridge draws its power from the faith and good intentions of the people who cross it," explained Current. "But lately I've sensed that fewer people are crossing with pure hearts. Too many are trying to use the bridge for selfish purposes, and that's draining its magic." River thought about this as she looked out over the countryside. The bridge had always been a place where people came when they needed genuine help. Farmers seeking new land to feed their families, young people looking for their calling in life, travelers searching for lost loved ones. But recently, she had noticed more visitors who seemed to want the bridge to grant them wealth or power or fame, rather than helping them find what they truly needed. "What can we do?" asked River. "We can't force people to have good intentions." "No," agreed Current, "but we can help them discover what their true intentions really are. Sometimes people think they want one thing when they actually need something completely different. The bridge needs us to help visitors understand their own hearts before they attempt to cross." Just then they heard the sound of approaching footsteps on the path that led to the bridge. A well-dressed man was walking toward them, carrying a large bag and looking around with calculating eyes. River and Current exchanged glances. This visitor didn't feel like someone who was coming to the bridge for the right reasons. "Good morning," called the man as he reached the bridge's entrance. "I'm Merchant Goldenbag, and I've come to use your famous wishing bridge. I've heard that it can help people find exactly what they're looking for." River stepped forward politely. "Good morning, Merchant Goldenbag. I'm River, the bridge keeper. Before anyone can cross our bridge, I like to talk with them about their journey. Could you tell me what you're hoping to find on the other side?" Merchant Goldenbag smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "I'm looking for the legendary Golden Valley that's supposed to be somewhere beyond this bridge. I've heard it's full of precious metals and gems just waiting to be collected. I plan to gather as much treasure as I can carry and become the richest man in the kingdom." River felt the bridge shudder slightly beneath her feet, a sure sign that it was not pleased with this visitor's intentions. "I see," she said carefully. "And what would you do with all that treasure once you've found it?" "Keep it, of course," laughed Merchant Goldenbag. "I'd build myself a mansion and buy servants and live in luxury for the rest of my life. Maybe I'd buy a title from the king and become a lord." Current slowly approached the conversation, his ancient eyes studying the merchant carefully. "And what about the people in your hometown? Would you share any of your newfound wealth with them?" Merchant Goldenbag looked surprised by the question. "Why would I do that? They haven't done anything to earn it. Besides, if everyone had treasure, then being rich wouldn't be special anymore." River could feel the bridge's magic dimming even more as Merchant Goldenbag spoke. His selfish intentions were actually hurting the bridge's ability to help anyone. She knew she had to find a way to help him understand what he really needed, rather than what he thought he wanted. "Merchant Goldenbag," she said gently, "may I ask you something? What made you decide to seek treasure in the first place? Was there something specific you were hoping to accomplish?" For the first time, the merchant's confident expression wavered slightly. "Well," he said slowly, "I suppose it started when my business began failing. I used to have a successful shop in town, and people respected me. But then, larger merchants moved in with cheaper goods, and I lost most of my customers. I felt forgotten, unimportant." "Ah," said Current wisely, "so you're not really looking for treasure at all. You're looking for respect and recognition." That's not—" Merchant Goldenbag started to protest, but then he stopped and thought about it. I suppose that might be true. I used to feel proud of my work and my place in the community. Now I feel like nobody notices me or values what I have to offer." River smiled encouragingly. "The wishing bridge is very good at helping people find what they truly need, but it sounds like what you need isn't treasure. It's a way to feel valued and respected again. There might be a much better solution than trying to find a legendary Golden Valley." "What do you mean?" asked Merchant Goldenbag, looking confused but also curious. "Well," said River, "what if we helped you find a way to rebuild your business and your reputation? What if you could become respected, not because you were rich, but because you provided something valuable to your community?" Current nodded approvingly. "The bridge has helped many people find new purposes for their lives. Perhaps it could help you discover a different kind of success, one based on helping others rather than just accumulating wealth. Merchant Goldenbag was quiet for a long moment, considering this possibility. As he thought, River could feel the bridge's magic growing slightly stronger. When people began to consider helping others instead of just themselves, the bridge always responded positively. I think I'd like that," said Merchant Goldenbag slowly. "But I don't know how to start over. My old business is gone, and I don't have much money left to begin again." "That's exactly the kind of problem the bridge loves to help with," said River with a smile. "But first, you need to make a choice. Do you want to cross the bridge looking for treasure to make yourself rich? Or do you want to cross looking for a way to serve your community and rebuild your life through helping others?" "I want to help," said Merchant Goldenbag, and River could tell that he meant it. "I want to find a way to be useful and respected again, not just wealthy." The moment he spoke those words, the bridge began to glow more brightly. The magical structure shimmered with renewed energy, and a gentle, welcoming song filled the air. The bridge was happy to help someone who wanted to use their journey for good. "Wonderful," said River. "Now you can cross safely. But remember, the bridge will take you where you need to go, not necessarily where you expect to go. Trust in its wisdom, and you'll find exactly what you need." Merchant Goldenbag stepped onto the bridge, and immediately his expression changed to one of wonder. As he walked across the shimmering surface, River could see scenes appearing in the mist around him, visions of the possibilities that awaited him on the other side. When he reached the far end of the bridge and disappeared into the morning mist, Current turned to River with approval. "Well done, child. You helped him discover his true heart, and the bridge's magic grew stronger because of it." But their work was far from over. Throughout the day, more visitors arrived at the bridge, each with their own reasons for wanting to cross. There was a young woman who thought she wanted to find a prince to marry, but River helped her realize she was actually looking for adventure and independence. There was an old man who believed he needed to find a magical cure for his loneliness, but who discovered through talking with Current that what he really needed was to reconnect with the community he had been avoiding. Each time River and Current helped someone understand their true intentions, the bridge grew stronger and more beautiful. By evening, it was glowing with renewed magic, and its song was clearer and more joyful than it had been in weeks. As the sun set and the day's work came to an end, River and Current sat together on the bridge, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. "I think I understand something now," said River thoughtfully. "The bridge doesn't just help people cross from one side to the other, it helps them cross from who they think they are to who they really are inside." "Exactly," said Current with a proud smile. "And that's why your job as bridge keeper is so important. You don't just maintain a magical crossing, you help people discover their true selves and find their real purpose in life." A few days later, they received wonderful news. Merchant Goldenbag had found his new calling on the other side of the bridge. Instead of discovering treasure, he had found a small village that desperately needed someone with his business skills to help organize their market and trade system. He had become not just successful, but truly respected and valued for the help he provided to others. The young woman had indeed found adventure, becoming a traveling teacher who brought education to remote villages. The old man had discovered a group of fellow craftspeople who welcomed him into their community and appreciated his skills and wisdom. Each success story made the bridge stronger and more beautiful. Word spread throughout the region that the Wishing Bridge was not just a magical crossing, but a place where people could find their true purpose and calling in life. River realized that being a bridge keeper was about much more than maintaining a magical structure. It was about helping people understand themselves, encouraging them to think beyond their immediate wants to discover their deeper needs, and guiding them toward choices that would benefit not just themselves, but their entire community. As autumn deepened and the first snow began to fall, River and Current continued their important work. Each day brought new visitors, each with their own story and their own journey to make. And each day, River grew more skilled at helping people discover the difference between what they thought they wanted and what they truly needed. The bridge thrived under their care, glowing brighter with each act of selflessness and growing stronger with each person who chose to use their journey to help others. It became a beacon of hope and wisdom in the countryside, drawing people from far and wide who were seeking not just to cross a river, but to cross over into a better understanding of themselves and their place in the world. And every evening, as River and Current watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, they felt the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing they were not just doing a job, but fulfilling a calling. They were helping people find their way not just across a bridge, but across the most important journey of all, the journey to discovering who they truly were and what they were meant to contribute to the world. But their most challenging test was yet to come. One crisp winter morning, when frost painted delicate patterns on the cottage windows and the stream below the bridge sparkled with thin ice along its edges, River woke to find something very unusual. The bridge was completely dark, not glowing with its usual warm light, and eerily silent instead of humming with its gentle morning song. "Current," she called, running outside in her nightgown and slippers. "Something's terribly wrong with the bridge." The old turtle emerged slowly from his winter shelter, blinking in concern. As soon as he saw the darkened bridge, his expression grew grave. "This is serious, child. I've only seen the bridge go completely dark once before, many years ago when I was still learning to be a bridge keeper myself." "What does it mean?" asked River, shivering both from the cold and from worry. "It means the bridge has encountered something it cannot understand or help with," Current explained. "Someone is approaching who presents a challenge so difficult that the bridge has withdrawn its magic to protect itself." As if summoned by their conversation, they heard footsteps approaching on the path. But these weren't ordinary footsteps. They had a strange echoing quality, as if the person walking was somehow not entirely present in the world. The figure that emerged from the morning mist was unlike any visitor they had ever received. It appeared to be a young boy, perhaps 11 or 12 years old, but there was something translucent about him, as if he was made of moonlight and shadow rather than flesh and blood. His clothes seemed to be woven from twilight, and his eyes held a sadness so deep it made River's heart ache just to look at him. "Hello," said the boy in a voice that sounded like a wind through empty halls. "My name is Echo. I've been traveling for a very long time, and I need to cross your bridge." River exchanged a worried glance with Current. She had never encountered a spirit before, but that's clearly what Echo was. And spirits presented unique challenges for bridge keepers, because their needs and motivations were often completely different from those of living people. "Hello, Echo," said River, trying to keep her voice calm and welcoming despite her nervousness. "I'm River, and this is Current. We're the bridge keepers here. Before anyone can cross our bridge, we like to understand what they're looking for. Could you tell us about your journey?" Echo's translucent form flickered slightly, like a candle flame in a gentle breeze. "I've been lost for so long," he said sadly. "I died many years ago, but I never found my way to wherever spirits are supposed to go. I've been wandering the world, searching for something, but I don't know what. I heard that your bridge helps people find what they need, so I came here hoping it might help me find my way home." Current moved closer, his ancient eyes studying Echo with deep compassion. "How long have you been wandering, young spirit?" I don't know, Echo replied, his voice becoming even more distant. Time feels different when you're not alive. It could be decades or centuries. I remember being a boy, and I remember feeling very sad about something, but I can't remember what. And I can't remember how I died, or why I never moved on like other spirits do. River felt her heart breaking for the lost spirit. She had helped many people find their way, but she had no experience with helping someone who was already dead find their final rest. And clearly, the bridge was as uncertain as she was about how to help. Echo, she said gently, what do you remember about being alive? Anything at all might help us understand what's keeping you here. Echo closed his eyes, or where his eyes should have been, in his translucent face, and concentrated. I remember being very angry about something, and very sad. There was someone I loved very much, and something terrible happened to them. I think I was supposed to help them, but I failed, and maybe that's why I can't rest. Unfinished business, murmured Current knowingly. That's often what keeps spirits bound to the world of the living. Echo, do you remember who this person was that you loved? My sister, Echo said suddenly, his form brightening slightly as the memory surfaced. Her name was Arya. She was younger than me, and she was sick, very sick. Our parents had died, and it was just the two of us. I was supposed to take care of her, but I couldn't find help. I couldn't save her. River began to understand. And you think that's why you've been wandering? Because you feel guilty about not being able to help your sister? Yes, Echo whispered. I failed her. I was her big brother, and I was supposed to protect her, but I couldn't. Maybe if I had been braver, or smarter, or tried harder, I could have found a way to help her get better. Current and River looked at each other with growing understanding. This wasn't just about helping a spirit find his way to the afterlife. It was about helping him forgive himself for something that had never been his fault to begin with. Echo, said Current gently, how old were you when your sister was sick? I was 11, Echo replied. Arya was 8. And you were both alone, with no parents or other family to help? Yes, we lived on the streets. I tried to find work, tried to earn money for medicine, but no one would hire a child, and the doctors wouldn't see Arya without payment. River felt tears forming in her eyes. Oh, Echo, you were just a child yourself. You did everything you could. It wasn't your fault that you couldn't save her. But I was her big brother, Echo protested, his form flickering with emotion. I was supposed to take care of her. You did take care of her, said Current firmly. You loved her. You stayed with her. You tried everything a young boy could possibly try. Sometimes, no matter how much we love someone, there are things beyond our power to fix. That doesn't make us failures. That makes us human. For the first time since Echo had arrived, the bridge began to emit a very faint glow. It was responding to the compassion and truth in Current's words. But if it wasn't my fault, Echo said, confusion evident in his voice, then why have I been lost for so long? Why couldn't I move on? River had an inspiration. Maybe it's not about fault at all. Maybe you've been wandering because you never got to say goodbye to Arya properly. Maybe you need to find her, not to apologize, but to make sure she's okay. Is that possible? Echo asked, hope flickering in his translucent form. "Could I find her in the spirit world?" "I think," said Current slowly, "that's exactly what the bridge is meant to help you do. But first, you need to forgive yourself. You need to understand that you were a good brother who did everything he could with the resources of a child. Your love for Arya was real, and that's what matters." Echo was quiet for a long time, and during that silence the bridge's glow grew steadily brighter. It was responding to the healing that was beginning to take place in the young spirit's heart. I think I can feel her," Echo said suddenly, wonder creeping into his voice. "I think she's been waiting for me somewhere beyond the bridge. But she's not angry with me. She's proud of me for trying so hard to help her." The bridge burst into brilliant light, brighter than River had ever seen it. The magical structure was not just glowing. Now, it was singing, a melody so beautiful and pure that it seemed to come from the very heart of love itself. "She forgives me," Echo whispered, tears of light streaming down his translucent cheeks. "She says I was the best big brother she could have asked for, and she's been waiting to tell me that it's okay to let go now." As Echo stepped onto the bridge, his form began to solidify and brighten. With each step he took toward the other side, he became more real, more present, more at peace. The burden of guilt and self-blame that had kept him trapped between worlds was finally lifting. When he reached the center of the bridge, Echo turned back to wave at River and Current. But he was no longer the sad, translucent spirit who had arrived that morning. He looked like a real boy again, healthy and happy and free. "Thank you," he called to them, his voice now clear and joyful instead of hollow and echoing. "Thank you for helping me remember that love is more important than perfection." And then he continued across the bridge, walking toward a brilliant light that had appeared on the other side. River could just make out another figure in that light, a young girl who was running toward Echo with arms outstretched. When Echo reached Arya, they embraced, and both figures dissolved into pure radiant light that rose up into the sky and disappeared among the stars. The bridge continued to glow with peaceful, satisfied light for the rest of the day, with the knowledge that it had helped facilitate one of the most important crossings of all, the journey from guilt to forgiveness, from self-blame to self-acceptance, and from separation to reunion. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed," said River, wiping tears from her eyes. "And one of the most important lessons about being a bridge keeper," added Current. "Sometimes our job isn't just to help people cross from one side of a river to the other. Sometimes it's to help them cross from pain to healing, from fear to love, or from being lost to being found." As winter deepened and turned to spring, River and Current continued their work with renewed understanding of the bridge's true purpose. They helped farmers find new ways to work together when drought threatened their crops. They assisted young people in discovering careers that would let them serve their communities. They guided families through difficult times and helped them find ways to support each other. But they also began to encounter more visitors like Echo, people who were lost not in the physical world, but in emotional or spiritual ways. There was a woman who had been carrying guilt about a mistake she'd made 20 years earlier. There was a man who had never forgiven himself for not being able to prevent his father's illness. There was a child who blamed herself for her parents' divorce. In each case, River learned to look beyond the surface request and help people discover what they really needed. Often, what they needed most was permission to forgive themselves or help in understanding that they were worthy of love despite their imperfections. The bridge thrived under this expanded understanding of its purpose. It became known throughout the land not just as a place where people could cross a stream, but as a place where they could cross over from whatever was holding them back to a new understanding of themselves and their place in the world. River realized that being a bridge keeper had taught her something profound about the nature of helping others. It wasn't about having all the answers or being able to fix every problem. It was about listening with compassion, asking the right questions, and helping people discover their own strength and wisdom. Years passed, and River grew from a young girl into a wise young woman. Current eventually reached the end of his very long life, but not before training River to carry on the work alone. Before he died, he told her that she had become the finest bridge keeper he had ever known, not because she was perfect, but because she truly understands that everyone deserves compassion and a chance to find their way home to themselves. In her cozy cottage built into the bridge, River would fall asleep each night to the gentle song of the magical structure, knowing that tomorrow would bring new opportunities to help people find their way. And in her dreams, she would see all the people who had crossed the bridge, the living and the dead, the young and the old, the confident and the lost, all of them finding peace and purpose because they had discovered that they were worthy of love and forgiveness. The wishing bridge continued to span not just the physical stream that flowed beneath it, but the distance between despair and hope, between self-doubt and self-acceptance, and between being lost and being found. And River, the bridge keeper, had learned that the most important crossing of all was the one that led people home to their own hearts, where they could finally forgive themselves and discover that they had always been worthy of love. The end.